Gather round, it's Taley Time. Hi, and welcome to Taley Time with Charles Scrivens. I'm your host, Charles Scrivens. Today's tale will offer a little glimpse into the lives of those of the very top socioeconomic class, those with so much power that it really doesn't matter how crazy they get. No, I'm not talking about princes and princesses, I'm talking about CEOs, of course. Black Sheep, White Paint by Charles Scrivens. Once there was a black sheep that lived far from civilization amongst the rolling hills. The hills were green as far as the eye could see, so a sheep was to want for nothing. The black sheep was not happy, however, because the other sheep treated him very poorly. "What a fleece you have," the other sheep would tease. "It will make a fine wool coat for someone who wants to look like they have been rolling around in the mud." "Wait a second, what about the pants? You're going to try and convince me with this look that you've been rolling around the mud and yet you're wearing pristine pants? I've rolled around the mud a little bit, and I challenge anyone to roll around the mud and not get any mud on their pants. So, and then why would you just change your pants and not the jacket? It doesn't make any sense. So really, you're going to sell 2 for 1 here. You're going to sell the pants with the jacket as a matching set for anyone who wants this look, and hey, he should be saying, 'Joke's on you guys, I'm selling twice as much.'" The black sheep kept mostly to himself, hanging around the outskirts of the flock. One day, when the black sheep ventured particularly far off from the rest of the flock, he came across a fence unlike any he had seen before. It was a small picket fence surrounding the yard for a newly built house. The fence was not quite done. It was still in the middle of being painted white. The painter appeared to have gone into the house for a break, so the black sheep went right up to the fence by the painter's tools. Seeing that the fence turned from brown to white, the black sheep could not help thinking of himself as he looked down into the tray of white paint. Desiring the acceptance of his peers, the black sheep bathed himself in white paint, making sure to cover every last bit of his coat. How is he accomplishing this? If you've seen a sheep, they're pretty bulky with a full fleece, a lot to cover, and they don't seem particularly limber. So, even if he's rolling around all in this paint, I would think, there's no way he could cover everything. And it's like, trying to put on sunscreen by yourself. That's a risky business. You're like, I think I'm getting everything, but who knows? I have no idea. So, without a mirror, I think he's going to end up splotchy at best. Once finished, an excitement never felt before by the black sheep rushed through him. He wanted to return to the flock at once, but he was still wet, and even white as he was, the other sheep would still recognize him. The black sheep determined that if he really wanted to be a white sheep, he would have to go somewhere new with sheep he had never before met. With that in mind, the black sheep turned away from his flock and headed toward the city. The black sheep had only seen a handful of buildings in his life, none taller than a small one-story home. The towering skyscrapers of the city left the black sheep in awe as he approached the city. They were like gray counterparts to his green rolling hills. The black sheep loved standing at the top of a hill and seeing all the green before him. He wondered what the view would be like from one of the towers and decided to seek out the tallest ones first thing. Once in the city itself, though, the black sheep began to question his decision to come to the city. Its citizens must all be starving, he thought, as there were barely any patches of grass to be found. The hard ground was rough on his hooves, and the air tasted strange. Air should not taste anything. There's no sentence that starts, "the air tastes," and then has a good ending. It doesn't exist. Though it would be pretty great if air did taste good. You'd just be walking around breathing, delicious, more air please. I could very much see businesses centered around flavored air, like an air lounge where different rooms have different flavored air. The real downside would be that it would create that mouth breather epidemic. The black sheep could not tell which buildings were tallest walking through the city, as they towered too high above him to see. One tower caught his attention, though, and it was certainly quite tall.
The building was labeled as Sheep Inc. What really attracted the black sheep was the slogan above the entryway, which said, "Every sheep is incorporated in our dream." The black sheep was not exactly sure what that meant, but he knew he liked it.
Corporations really just shouldn't have slogans, and if they did have a slogan, just something like, "We'd really like to make a bunch of money," rather than what most corporations' slogans seem to be, which is, "We want to make the world a better place." To me, that's the alarm bells ringing. This corporation's a villain. We've got another Wayland Yutani on our hands, because corporations are a lot like robots when it comes to making the world a better place. All right, we ran the numbers, and it seems like most people don't matter.
When the black sheep entered the Sheep Inc. building, a receptionist greeted him. "Can I help you?" "I would like to go to the top." "Uh-huh. The elevator is to your right." The black sheep took the elevator to the highest floor and began to look for a way to get to the roof. There was no obvious way up, so the black sheep decided to ask the only sheep he could find, a secretary behind a prominent desk. "Excuse me," the black sheep started. The secretary looked up from her work, not having noticed the black sheep earlier. "Oh, hello. Do you have a meeting? I did not realize there was a meeting scheduled. Just give me a second." The secretary pushed the intercom button. "Did you schedule a meeting without telling me, sir?" A voice crackled over the intercom. "I don't know. You are in charge of my schedule. You tell me." "I cannot mark down a meeting if you do not tell me about it. Well, anyways, you have someone here to see you." The secretary addressed the black sheep again. "Go on inside." The black sheep entered and was immediately awestruck. He hardly noticed what was in the large office, because two of its walls were made entirely of glass. "What a view," the black sheep said. "That's why I built it so tall," the boss sheep said, looking out the windows as well. "Can you believe they wanted to build it 25 floors shorter?" I said, "It must be 25 stories higher than that, otherwise what's the point?" And they replied, "But what will we do with 25 extra floors? We have nothing to put in them." Can you believe that? Nothing to put in them, as though that were a problem. Well, I asked them what we would do if we found out we needed them later and didn't have them. They had no good answer for that. "Did you put something in those floors?" "I don't know. We put an elevator shaft through them, that's for sure. That's what matters." The boss sheep finally turned to the black sheep. "Look, I must admit I had completely forgotten about this meeting and had gotten quite set on the idea of not having a meeting. This is no place for a meeting anyways. Could we reschedule for tomorrow morning?" Sure," the black sheep responded. "Great." The boss sheep pressed the intercom button. "We've rescheduled our meeting for tomorrow morning. Could you get us a tea time at 9? "Wait, make that 10. The boss sheep released the intercom button. "Might as well give ourselves some time to enjoy breakfast." "All set," the secretary said over the intercom. "Great," the boss sheep exclaimed. "I really enjoyed this preliminary meeting. I very much look forward to tomorrow. My secretary will give you all the details."
Why do business people love meetings so much? It seems like they just want to have meetings all the time. Yes, this is the pre-meeting where we'll plan the meeting that we'll actually have in a while. So first thing is, when should we have the meeting? I've got an idea. Why don't we have the meeting right now, and then we save all that time. We don't have to have a meeting later. We can just do that right now, discuss the actual thing rather than the meeting. I guess not.
The next morning, the black sheep followed the secretary's instructions and met the boss sheep at the golf course. There it was, the luscious green that had been missing from the city. The grass looked as good as any the black sheep had seen, though he wondered if that was just due to its extreme contrast with the city. On the first hole, the black sheep wandered into the rough and started chewing on it. "Ha!" the boss sheep laughed. "Breakfast wasn't enough, so you're getting an early start on lunch, my kind of sheep. You need to be careful, though. They'll kick you right off this course if they catch you."
I feel like you could get away with it. Oh, what, you think I'm ruining the rough here? No, I'm making it way better. It's real shoddy work by your grounds crew here. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing with this rough at all. I'm fixing it. You should be paying me. Seriously, do you have a groundskeeper position?
That's why I always wait until hole 7. They'll never spot you way out there. I suppose we should get down to business, though. I never did ask. What's your handicap? On the 7th hole, the black sheep and boss sheep were thoroughly enjoying their time in the rough. The black sheep marveled at how a little coat of white paint dispersed his fears of ridicule. Now, instead of walking along the periphery, the black sheep could walk right down Main Street into the tallest building in the city and make friends with an important sheep. But in the same thought, the black sheep realized that he quite liked his time alone in the rolling hills. This peaceful moment with the boss sheep was the most comfortable the black sheep had felt in the city, as well as the most like the life to which he was accustomed. I should go back to the rolling hills, the black sheep thought aloud. Yes. It is good to get away from things now and again. Way out to the rolling hills, the boss sheep contemplated. The rolling hills. Yes, the rolling hills. Brilliant! There are lots of sheep among the rolling hills, but they are so hard to reach because they are all spread out. But right you are, that's no reason to forget about them. We must always think big. What's big? The cities, they say. But I've always said every sheep, and I mean every sheep. That's big. Why, I put a good sheep like you in charge of the Rolling Hills Division, and it will be no problem at all. Sure, there will be a lot of travel, probably only a couple days a month where you would be back in the city to report your progress, but that wouldn't stop an ambitious sheep like yourself, and you'll be compensated for the travel anyways. Yes, what an idea. There's no doubt it's the thing to do. The boss sheep went back to chewing on the rough for a bit. What a successful meeting. It's only the 7th hole. The black sheep was excited for his new life. Such a development would have been unimaginable to him just a couple of days ago. Oh, by the way, the boss sheep got close to the black sheep, then whispered, I noticed your paint job could use a little touch-up. I can recommend a guy, best in the biz. The black sheep was incredibly embarrassed, but upon a little reflection said, I think I am just going to leave it. Going natural, eh? I respect that. I know a guy who can help with that, too. The big-shot black sheep spent a few more days in the city preparing for his new job. He grew more accustomed to the city, but was glad to leave to start his work. The black sheep traveled throughout the green rolling hills, far from civilization, happy as could be.
That concludes this week's tale. There's a lot we can learn from animals, though not nearly as much as animals could learn from us. I guess dogs are trying, at least, with, sitting and rolling over and stuff like that, but animals should be paying a lot more attention to what we're doing.